Welcome to the Robert Show. We're here at Google Next, and I have with me here Woon from Commvault. Woon, not a new face to the Robert Show. Welcome back.
Thanks for having me.
Woon, just for audience, would you like to tell us a little bit about your role at Commvault, and also want to know about the announcements that you all have made here at Google Next?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So yeah, my name is Woon Jung. I'm the co-founder and CTO at Clumio, and part of Commvault now.
Yes.
Transition through the acquisition, and today we're here because of we're launching Clumio on GCP. Clumio, we've been at it for the last 8 years.
Yes.
Solely focused on AWS, and today we're excited to announce that we're actually expanding into GCP.
That is very cool. I'm curious to learn more about it, but let's get into that a little later. I wanted to ask today, most organizations are running critical workloads across multiple clouds, right? From your perspective, what is the fundamentally breaking in how data is being protected in different environments? Tell us a little bit more about that, Wood.
Yeah, so I wouldn't use the word broken because it's a little too strong.
Yeah.
But one of the challenges that we see is that a lot of the organizations have data across the different cloud providers.
Yes.
AWS and GCP, and then they do offer slightly different primitives for you to actually go protect the data. And then what we're trying to do today is, some of the challenges is that now you have to do things slightly differently because you have your data in AWS or whether you have your data in GCP.
True.
But in reality, what the building primitive should not be dictating what you do in terms of data protection.
Yes.
But it's more of a business requirement that should dictate what you should do. And that's some of the challenges that we're trying to address.
That is fantastic. Those are great insights. I'm kind of also curious to know cloud storage sits at the center of everything, may it be analytics or AI pipelines. I'm wanting to know what gaps did you see specifically in Google storage that led to building Clumio on GCP? Tell us a little bit about that.
Got it. Okay. So it's really, we really follow the customers. So like I said before, we've been with AWS for pretty long time now. We're working with developers and working with cloud native customers and helping them protect their data. And a lot of our customers are now expanding also into GCP.
Right.
And then they're asking us to actually expand that experience that they had in AWS into GCP. And then that's kind of what we're doing.
Yep.
Bringing a lot of the things that we learned that while building on AWS, and bring that similar experience and service into GCP.
Right. I think this is something pretty interesting for my audience for sure. One of the challenges is also scale. So tell us about, how does Clumio approach this problem differently compared to traditional methods? And how does this help the folks who are on GCP?
Yeah. So some of the different approaches that we take is that, and which also relates to, why we spent 8 years at AWS and we're finally coming into GCP.
Right.
Is that we believe that for you to be able to extract the most out of a particular cloud provider, or let's say GCP in this case,
Yes.
you have to really build it natively because, like I said earlier, every cloud provider is a little bit different, but you have to adjust and you have to actually build natively for that cloud for you to be able to extract the most out of it.
Right.
Sure, there's a lot of things that we learned from AWS that we're bringing in, and we're combining that with a lot of the stuff that is unique to GCP, and we're marrying the two together to drive that skill and performance and cost optimization that we bring to the table.
I love it. This is definitely a good news for all the GCP users, and obviously in terms of the cost and scalability, it just helps a lot more. I'm kind of wanting to know about Agentic AI that introduces a new layer of complexity where systems can make changes on their own. What new risks does this create which weren't existing before? Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so then it's really about, I would say, it's more about the blast radius than anything, right? So, a lot of the things, accidental deletions, misconfigurations, those are not new things.
New things, so
they're,
true.
they're always there. Now, the only difference is that, no, that misconfigurations or accidental deletions could have a large blast radius now, given that an agent might actually
Right.
be doing all those operations.
Yeah, I think that is something which is the need of the hour as well. If agents are kind of talking to agents and the work is getting done, and we need to have those guardrails in place
Yeah.
for sure. Uh, one last question for you. Woon. In the next 6 to 8 months, how are you seeing the space evolving? What will separate organizations that successfully adopt AI from those who would struggle? Tell us a little bit more.
So no, I think I mentioned it in one of our conversation earlier. I think a lot is changing.
Lot is
A
changing.
lot is changing, but I think it's more about the approach that I would take is lean in and embrace it and start experimenting really, really fast. Like you shouldn't hold back, but instead what you should do is just really full force adopt it and go deploy it. And sure, in the process you'll make mistakes,
Right?
but then
100%.
what you should do though is, this is what I tell even to my team. Let's just go fast, really, really fast.
Very important.
Um, but the only thing that you should do is invest in a really, really good seatbelt or airbag or whatever, because accidents will happen.
Yeah?
But really, you should adopt it and drive it full force, and that's how you would actually get ahead of it instead of being left behind.
Yeah, I think that is a great advice for all the enterprise leaders out there who've been kind of, obviously wanting to try, but then the idea is just go out, experiment things, start fast, get into it, and learn and, iterate.
Yeah.
So that is a very good advice there. I promise one last question. If
Yeah.
for anyone who's wanting to know more about Clumio, the partnership, where can people find the announcement? And also, if they want to learn more about the different things that Clumio team has been kind of putting together in terms of the product launches, I know you all ship things very quickly, as you mentioned as well. Where can they find it?
No, you can always come to Clumio.com.
Okay.
That'll be the best source of truth out there.
Okay.
Today we're starting with GCS support,
Okay,
which is
nice.
the object store equivalent,
Yeah.
right, in GCP. And then from here we're expanding. We're going to be adding more and more data sources in GCP,
Right.
as well as venturing out outside of just pure data protection.
Yeah. Okay, fantastic. These are great insights. Woon, always such a pleasure chatting with you. I can't wait to do this again, but congratulations on all the great announcements with Google Cloud. We'll keep the conversation going, and thanks once again for doing this.
Yeah, no, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Cool.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us today.
Thank you.